You are about to witness bodily dismemberment, sub-zero temperatures, and all-out mayhem. Brought to you by the Frontline Network.
Sup, COH fans, and welcome to the 19th Company of Heroes 2 beta cast, brought to you by the Frontline Network, presented by me, FatalSaint, and my good friend Tommy. What's up, Tommy?
What's up, Fatal? We're back on our favorite map. It's Colony Famine Battlefield once again, but this time we have a couple of new players that we haven't yet seen. One of whom I've heard his name bandied around a bit, but I don't believe we've actually casted him. He's going to be playing as the Soviets in this game, and it's Mr. SturmTigerOst. He's going to be taking on his opponent over in the red corner. It's, well, this is a player that we do know quite well. It's Lollypop.
Yep, Lollypop is back. He's been gone a fair while from the COH VCO scene for quite a bit. And then he re-emerged and started streaming Company of Heroes 2. And I've actually watched some of his streams recently. And really, really good player as usual. Just like he was in VCO, he's really good in Company of Heroes 2 as well. So it's going to be interesting to see these two players fight it out on Colony. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
At the 5-second mark, and we'll unpause in 3, 2, 1, unpause. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And compared to the last game we did with Nystrom, Lollypop is not doing, the VCO style of going 2 Pios in the beginning. He's just building his tier 1 building with his initial Pios.
On the other hand, we have SturmTiger. He is sending out his first combat engineer and building himself a conscript straight off the bat. So nothing too unusual here.
Exactly. Generally people will go for a conscript opening with Soviets, especially in a 1 versus 1. In 2 versus 2, some people start off, by basically building tier 2 as Soviets and start using quite a lot of the support weapons, especially the Maxim MG. It seems to be fairly popular, and it's fairly a potent weapon, actually.
I've actually had a few people complaining to me over the last few days that actually some people are beginning to exploit the power of the Maxim MG for its true
Really?
potential, which is doing some really crazy balls-to-the-wall stuff, like going for a Maxim MG opening. Because, of course, it's a 6-man crew. You got 1 guy on the gun, and then essentially you have a 5-man conscript squad.
Yeah, it's almost like a conscript.
So it's a conscript who just happened to be packing a really, really good gun as well, which sets up and packs up extremely quickly. And a lot of people are complaining to me that they're getting base pinned by these Maxim MGs because they just creep up and creep up and creep up, and within 10, 15 minutes you can be sitting inside your base, unable to get out, surrounded by 4 or 5 of these MGs.
Very, very interesting. That will probably spark some form of a new meta by, austere players going for snipers or, mortars, for example, to counter this Maxim MG tactic that the Soviets are trying out right now. We do have the first engagement now. The combat engineers from SturmTigerOst is actually going into the building. They were trying to get this fuel, and both the initial combat engineer and conscript went up north, and basically the same thing for Lollypop going up north. So compared to before, where you usually always see one of the starting Pios or combat engineers going down south just to cap away, it seems to have basically swung over to this north part of the map, most likely because, there are the 2 VPs.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are the 2 VPs, and in between them you got the field point, and fuel is very, very important in Company of Heroes 2, because that is how you're going to tech, and that's how you're going to get your powerful late-game vehicles.
Yeah, you want as much fuel as possible so you can have a steady income, so you can save up for all of those nice armored vehicles like the tier 3 building from Austere, which produces Stugs, Ostwinds, and P4s. And recently, this is
about
from...
the Nystrom game.
Yeah, pretty much. Stugs everywhere. Suddenly, there were 4 of them, and that was an overwhelming number of Stugs. That was fairly hard to counter, even though I have seen the AT guns, especially as we saw in that game, where they actually also cloak as long as they get a penetrating hit on the frontal armor, the health of the Stug is not that massive, so they take a lot of damage from AT guns. But at the same time, with infantry support, it's very hard to track that.
First use of Ura here on a conscript squad, getting in nice and close, and also preventing the cap from the Grenadier squad on the Soviet cutoff here. Another conscript squad joins the fray. At point blank range here, this Grenadier squad could start taking a lot of damage now with a bit of focus fire.
In the north, we have a worker battle at the right-hand side VP closest to the Soviet base. Pios versus combat engineers. The same combat engineers that got out of the building, they vacated it, and a conscript squad took its place, and they're still fighting these grenadiers at long range. But the fuel in the north is actually in Lollypop's control, so he is getting...
Whole grenadier goes down to a conscript squad. These two conscripts, they focused down this grenadier, and Lolly was just too slow on the retreat.
He was most likely fighting this in the north with the two workers, the Pios versus combat engineers. Combat engineers did have quite a lot of health shaved off from them in the prior engagement. So the Pios actually emerged victorious in that battle. Another use of Ura from the conscripts against these 3 Grens at the northern fuel point.
And more Ura down here at the south as well from SturmTiger against a couple of grenadiers here. But wow, I mean, the early loss of a grenadier, and it looks like he's taking a lot of manpower damage up here in the north, and considering that we've seen nothing but conscripts so far from SturmTiger, to be doing this much damage to grenadiers so early on is really going to put him ahead.
Yeah, you just gotta bunch up your conscripts, and you can do a fair amount of damage. If you outgun your opponent with 2 squads against 1, you're gonna win that engagement, you know, basically 90% of the time. You always have to factor in abilities like rifle grenades, and when you're fighting P-Grens, the bundle nade, etc., that can really tip the tide even if you outnumber your opponent. But in the early game here, you have to actually tech to be able to use a rifle nade on your grenadiers. So you can't actually use these abilities in the very early engagements of the game. First upgrade for Lolly, and an LMG on a Gren.
Ooh, an LMG. I don't know how well that's going to fare though, because we have our first vehicle out. It's a scout car from SturmTiger, and he just pops a flamer on his combat engineer there as he hops in. So he's got himself another, or a very nice little armored car there.
Yeah, it's the mini Roo, or whatever we should call it, I don't know. Open top half-track with flamer in it. It always spells disaster for the Austere players, I think. It's a very powerful combination. You really gotta stay on top of your micro and retreat, just like against the Austere Flammenwerfer for the flame half-track. You kinda just, you know, you can try and stall it like I thought that Lollypop's Grenadier was going to do, but he fires the Faust right into the ground and misses the half-track.
That was, yeah...
unexpected.
Considering considering the range there, that's pretty impressive to miss my Faust at point-blank range.
It's kind of like in Vico when you have a Strekt-equipped Grenadier and he just shoots right into the ground. And it's just like, what were you thinking?
What school of Panda-Trek firing did you go to?
Yeah, I don't think he went to aiming school whatsoever. He didn't go to military school. He can't even hit, you know, something right in front of him. We have another scout car out from SturmTigerOst. Oh, another squad goes down. 2 Grens down. 2 Grens. Lollypop is taking a beating.
He needs to retreat this other squad now because he's... Oh god, these 2 scout cars are doing a real number on this Grenadier squad here.
They turn another Gren into crisp, burnt meat. And that's 3 Grens down, making Lolly's army only consist of 2 Grens and 1 Pio. He's got no units.
This is not good now. I mean, Lolly has dominating map control, but that's not going to last now. All these scout cars have to do is hunt out the last remaining infantry. And they're going to be doing a lot of damage.
Scout car going down south. One of the clown cars from SturmTigerOst is going after one of the remaining Gren squads. We do have a 3rd one. So basically what Lollypop has been doing is only build Grens. No MG, no sniper, no mortar, no nothing. Only Grens. But he's lost 3 of them. He might even lose another one now. He's down to 1 man. And the scout car is after it.
And it's very low on health. And he does lose it. A 4th Grenadier goes down. What's going on, Lolly?
I was told this was supposed to be a great game, but right now, Lollypop is just getting dominated, honestly.
He is having his ass served to him on a platter right now, and I don't know what he needs to do to try and come back into this. But please, for the love of God, don't just keep on building Grenadiers.
It's quite clearly not working out for him. So he has actually teched up to tier 2, built a building in his base, and is now building a scout car. So hopefully he can be able to give that the upgraded 20mm cannon, and he should be able to combat these scout cars, the M3 scout cars from SturmTigerOst right now, because he really needs to get rid of them as fast as possible. Because right now they are causing him such a manpower bleed and, you know, entire squad kills. It's just not going to be plausible to continue this way for Lollypop.
We should also mention, just remembering that you brought up the scout card there, that we're recording this on the 15th of June. Very recently, a very, very large balance patch hit, which buffed the scout car and its upgun when it turns into something of an armored car quite significantly by making the area of effect damage quite a lot larger. In fact, it doubled it from 0.5 to 1. So it's become, the upgun has become a lot more attractive as an anti-infantry as well as an anti-vehicle weapon.
Yeah, we'll see how it actually fares against the infantry in this matchup, because I think generally the upgrade, it looks good on paper, but I'm not exactly sure how it's actually gonna turn out in reality during a game. We'll see now, because he is just upgraded it to the upgun and turn it into some form of an armored car, you can call it. But mainly he wants to go after these scout cars, especially now during the blizzard. The scout cars become even more powerful, as you can go around very quickly, capping the whole map, which SturmTigerOst is doing right now.
Whoa! That was a heck of a
rifle
rifle nade. I just saw conscript
body
rifles
parts
going
everywhere.
flying, and actually that leads to a whole entire squad loss there. Conscript squad going down.
Lollypop's first little victory in this battle after losing, what was it, 4 grants he lost total, I think?
4 grand, yeah. I mean, he's going to need a lot more of those little victories if he wants to try and make back the lost ground.
Yeah, 1 conscript down at least, so that most likely is going to lift the spirit for Lollypop a little bit at least. Here comes the scout car at the Sound of VP again, and these Pyos just needs to get out. They have no counter, and he's going to be torched, and he's going to be dead.
Oh no, but the flame has made it into the building before the grenadiers now. Point blank range, roasting and toasting some more grenadiers.
Yeah, this is going to be problematic, even if the autocannon on the scout car was buffed. Oh, nice rifle nade into the building, but it was actually dodged, and they're going to get back in.
Whoa.
Another one gets in a hit on the combat engineers in the building, and I do believe that the flamethrower was actually destroyed.
It was. The guy carrying the flamethrower died.
Yep, due to the
Set the
explosion.
building on fire.
I think there's a critical chance, basically, when it comes to grenades and rifle nades and stuff like that, and explosions just generally, that the flamer itself actually gets destroyed. But Lollypop is almost pinned in his base now.
He practically is pinned in his base. He's got 1 sector left under his control.
And he's actually going to lose that now also. The scout car comes down here very fast and rapid to decap this, but he's actually going to leave because he knows that the armored car is most likely going to be hunting him.
We have a
Does he have
rebuilt
18
scout car. I don't know.
Yes.
Yes, we do. And that was a nasty 18-8. A lot of damage done.
The scout car was a little bit damaged prior to the 18-8, so now it's very close to dying actually. But he's not going to get it, I think. He's not going to get it. Nope, the infantry backing up the armored car actually forces off that lone country squad right now. How is SturmTigerOst army composition looking right now? Because Lollypop has just added an AT gun to his army.
Well, it's large, but it's also low-tech. We still only have the Tier 1 building, and the only vehicle we have left after the loss of that scout car is another scout car that was rebuilt to replace the first one that he lost. But he has 3 conscripts, 1 shock troop, and 2 combat engineers, as well as that 1 scout car, but still no sign of teching up yet.
Has he made a doctrine choice? Right now Lollypop is
Yes,
floating 3
he's
CPs.
gone
No
down
doctrine.
the shock trooper doctrine, which also gives him access to the IS-2 and the KV-8 at the end.
Okay. So he might be saving up for the KV-8, for example, if he's close CP-wise. I think it's 4 CPs to unlock the KV-8.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
so
that would really have a field day with all these grenadiers.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
If
And
your
the
army
armored
consists
car.
of nothing but grenadiers and armored cars, oh boy, KV-8 is just begging for it.
Lollypop does have the pack, so that's something. He will be able to keep it away a bit, but that's basically
Nice grenade from the shock troops down here on the south.
Up north at the fuel point. Lollypop tried to decap that fuel that's in SturmTigerOst hands right now, but one of the rebuilt scout cars, the M3 scout car, comes up there and forces an instant retreat. I don't know if he had enough munitions to actually use a Faust on it, or he felt like there was not really any point, because it's most likely just going to have the combat engineers pop out and repair it back up to full health again.
SturmTigerOst
Did he just freeze to
moving
death?
out.
One of this, I don't know what happened. He just fell over on my screen. That was very strange. One of the PPSH equipped shock troopers down south capping that VP just fell over on my screen. I don't know why.
That is odd.
Very strange. Very, very strange. Grenadiers are going to take the building in the center on Lollypop side of the map here. But there are loads of infantry coming in now to combat all of the forces from Lollypop.
He's actually running into the base MGs now here, SturmTigerOst. I don't know what he's going after, but...
18-8 maybe, I'm not exactly sure what he was after. See if we do have a nade shot from this shock trooper squad maybe in the center against the Grens in the building. Otherwise it will be very hard to actually get them out of that building.
Yep, there goes a grenade into the building. Not dodged. Ooh, but also
50% health damage. 50% health damage or so, 30-40% or something.
Here comes another scout car, rebuilt.
Well, this is gonna work. The flamer is gonna force Lollypop to vacate the building, and he does so instantly. Here comes armored car now, gets some nice shots in on the scout car, takes it out, and
that
another one bites the dust.
Just evaporated, and that building is on the verge of going down. One rifle nade or just a bit of flamethrower action is going to see that building collapse.
Shock troops actually retreat, and the combat engineers and conscripts from SturmTiger are fighting all of these Grens from Lollypop. He's up to 5 squads again, so he kept building Grens after getting that scout car counter, the armored car on the field.
So Lolly has finally pushed back most of the Soviet army back into the base on the right-hand side, and is now beginning to finally move up and take a little bit of territory. But he's still far from comfortable. I mean, he has been triple capped for a good majority of this game, and is down to 320, which, considering we're only 15 minutes into this game, is
quite fast.
Is very fast. Oh, and the KV-8 has now been unlocked, although he can't quite afford it. In fact, he's a long way from affording it in terms of the fuel, because we have just built a Tier 3 building, and a T-34 has arrived.
Alright, so he did decide to actually tech up. I'm not exactly sure. This T-34 will be good against the Grens, just stay away from it. I think in the recent patch, they actually reduced the range of Panzerfaust and 18-8 from 20 to 15, I think, or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how much that actually is in reality in the game, but it's a small nerf, and maybe if your micro is excellent, you could probably stay away from these damage engine one-hit critical things like 18-8s and Panzerfaust.
I wonder if the T-34 was really the best choice here, because it's not terrific at killing infantry in terms of how quickly it will do damage.
Squish!
Oh yeah, squishing is always useful. I don't know, I think I would have saved up for a KV-8, honestly. Given the unit composition that he's facing, it's basically loads and loads of bog standard infantry in the form of grenadiers, and a pack is the only AT, and I would much rather have a flamethrower than... And of course the KV-8, obviously, it comes with the flamethrowers as its main weapon, but you can also switch on the dinky little 37mm gun too, so...
Oh yeah, you can actually switch out the main gun on the KV-8 from the flamethrower to just a regular cannon, smaller caliber. So it's not going to be able to fight any form of tanks or something like that, not reliably at least. But it's going to be able to polish off the light vehicles from the austere army, like armored cars and half-track, for example. And the flamethrower will just torch the pack crew so quickly that the pack is basically useless against the KV-8 flamethrower.
Well, it looks like we've got an armoured column here, 2 scout cars rebuilt, and a T-34 moving straight down the middle road here. This Grenadier is about to have a shock of a lifetime.
At the same time, a triple cockpit from SturmTigerOst forces off the Grenadiers in the north from Lollypop, and the armored car is here to try and help out, but too much infantry.
1 scout car went down, I'm not sure what to. I think it might have been even to a mine, because the T-34 took a little bit of damage while it was next to it as well, so I think that might have been a mine. Something of a base rush now. The vehicles and tanks are into the Axis base here on the left-hand side, torching a Grenadier squad as he hastily tries to reinforce. Second scout car goes down. Flamers are still roasting and toasting these these Grenadiers.
Conscripts at the Northern Fuel fighting a 3-man Grenadier squad in a building. It's very low health right now, and he's still taking flak. Takes another casualty from these conscripts against this building. Another one down, and he's down to 1 man, and this Grenadier squad might be wiped out. I think Lollypop is busy in the base, I guess.
He was busy in the base. He was busy destroying a T-34 and those 2 scout cars. The entire Soviet little armored column there was destroyed. They didn't really kill an awful lot either, so it was a bit of a wasted attack there by SturmTigerOst.
Yeah, the T-34 in the current patch was actually, the prices were actually increased, I think up to 90 or 95 fuel from the previous fuel cost of the T-34, so you gotta be careful. You can't just throw away armored units like that anymore. It's not gonna work. And we do have the first popper tank out from Lollypop, a P4, moving down into the south, combined with this armored car, looking for something to kill. And there are some shock troopers from SturmTigerOst down here trying to cap this fuel. But he is, I think, gonna be in for a nasty surprise now.
Oh yes, Panzer IV is on the field. Now the Panzer IV got buffed a little in this patch, or
a little bit.
It got buffed a fair amount because people didn't tend to use them previously because they weren't very well armored, their gun wasn't very good, and they were still very expensive, much more expensive than the T-34, for example.
Yeah.
But I believe
and they're basically both.
They're
basically both like jack of all trades vehicles.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
The
they're a little main
bit of
battle
everything.
tank.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not the best tank destroyer in the game. It's not the best against infantry in the game either. It just does both okay. Not good on any front really, but it's okay. But yeah, I think the P4 before was quite lackluster. I played with it a little bit, and every time I found them to be like, well, it's okay. But you know, if I have to combat T-34 spam, for example, I'd rather get a Stug. It just rips T-34s into small pieces instantly, and it fires so rapidly, and it's like an excellent tank destroyer. And if I really want to kill infantry, I think I'd probably get an Ostwin instead.
Yeah.
The
here in the north around the field point. This conscript pops Ura as well as that flamer still going on, but that flamer down to now to 1 man. I think he's actually getting focus fired by the Spec 2 Gren.
I believe that is the case, and that flamer is gonna retreat, and the Grens turn their guns against this conscript squad, and with the help of this P4 now, they're going to be forced to retreat as well from the north. But the VPs have stabilized for Lolly. You know, they're approximately at the same now with 300, 330-ish for either player here. So he's stabilized now, Lollypop, after that initial loss of all of those Grenadiers.
I get the impression that SturmTigerOst might be panicking a little bit at this point because he's doing taking some slightly strange choices, which is splitting up his infantry and his 1 breakthrough tank, this T-34, sending the T-34 up alone to the north, while all his infantry try to spread out and cap the south en masse. Whereas they're all just going to get routed by this armored car when it shows up.
And the P4 as well is moving down south again. I think he might be, however, getting AT-nated by a country squad now. But there are some Grenadiers, and there's nothing else in the vicinity to actually put this P4 in any form of danger, even if it does get AT-nated. There's no AT gun follow-up. The T-34 is back in SturmTigerOst's base getting repaired, so even if he gets AT-nated, it's not a big problem. Up one of the conscript squad at the center. Oh, that was close. He dodged that P4 shell, but gets taken out by the MG gunner on it instead.
This armored car down here in the south is hanging on for dear life, and he's got heavy engine damage, so he's not going anywhere fast. But I think he's going to get finished off now. There we go. Boom goes the dynamite, and it's goodbye for that armored car. But here comes the heavier armor now. You can't dice with a P4 in quite the same way.
No, not just with AT-nades. They're basically just a deterrent to keep them away from the infantry. And if you get a damage, it's really good in combination with if you had your own tank or an AT gun follow-up, for example. Get the damage engine in on the tank and then follow up with something to destroy it. But as you say, he split up his forces, so there's actually nothing down here that can, you know, even dent the P4. So even if he does get AT-nated, it's not that much of a big deal.
The enemy is taking what we have secured. New units have arrived.
SturmTigerOst is now expanding up onto the north, and basically all of Lollypop's forces are down south or at his base. So he's gonna try and OP the strategic point outside of his base. Let's see what OP he has gone for. A fuel OP on the strategic point just outside of his base.
Enemy forces capturing supply sector.
This Grenadier squad's getting stuck on this T-34. Bit of fancy micro here from SturmTigerOst to try and keep them from retreating, but they do finally manage to get away, but still losing more men on retreat.
Flamer gets a crit, I think, and a nice snipe from that T-34 on one of the two remaining members of that Grenadier squad. But we do have actually a doctrinal tank out on the field now. It's the Panzer IV command tank, which is basically like a P4 ISD.
So yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's really good actually, and it actually provides the.
Well, I can see this little defensive shield icon.
Yeah, it's kind of like the command tank for the British. It gives, you know, for units in the vicinity or in the same sector, it gives some defensive buffs.
Okay.
So similar to the British command tank from Vico, but I do believe that actually was more of an offensive buff than
That
defensive.
was more offensive, yeah. That
Here it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like that the P4 command tank. It's neat. I like that.
It is pretty cool, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what these two can do when they're paired up.
It's really good against infantry. It's like proper good against infantry, but it's not that good against armored vehicles like T-34. I think you can get some penetrations on the rear armor.
Squish.
He actually ran into the Grenadier that
Yeah,
was
he ran
holding
into
the
the
Faust, and it
Faust.
just exploded in his hand. That's a bad way to go. You know, have your
Hey, at least
Faust
he didn't
explode
miss.
and it gets run over. Ah, that's true. Compared to the first Faust that we saw, the attempted first Faust on the M3 Scout car, which just hit the
Wow,
ground.
that was
for some odd
abysmal.
reason.
Send
That
that
was-
guy back to basic training.
Very bizarre. P4 from Lollypop is now going to go down south again, and here comes the command tank as well. Look at that. Nice snipe on the conscripts. That's a load of damage. Look at that. Ooh, almost gets a snipe off on retreat as well. These shock troops from SturmTigerOst is going for Lollipop's cutoff, actually. But they are deep behind enemy lines right now.
Rifle nade goes in. Bit of health damage done to those shock troops there. But here comes the heavy cavalry.
Yeah, he basically just needs to go there. He attempts to throw a grenade on these Grens, but it's very nicely dodged by Lollipop. He didn't even take any health damage or whatsoever from that Grenadier, so that was a munitions waste, and they also die due to these two tanks now.
They were minced.
Yeah, even on retreat, that P4 command tank minced them.
Still, it was a nice little cut-off move. If you check out the minimap, you can see the entire sort of bottom red sectors are all flashing.
Yep, now you can see the two P4s in the center, the P4 command tank, giving the normal P4 that defensive shield on top, the little icon.
And would it be right in saying that it only works in friendly sectors?
I'm not exactly sure, but it seems to only be working in friendly sectors. The tooltips aren't 100% clear on that. It has to be an owned sector as far as I know. Let's see, the P4...
Yes, same owned sector.
Yeah. So it is extremely defensive, you know, compared to the British command tank, which was offensive. But I think that's a nice fit for the Germans. They've always been like that in, you know, obviously you can also play very aggressive and offensive with the German faction. But generally, you know, with the MGs from in Vico, etc., you know, and, you know, the defensive doctrine, obviously. I guess they've always been seen as the defensive faction of the game.
Wow, this T-34 was
Did he get double
obliterated
fausted, I think?
in double quick time there, yeah.
Snipers out now. Maybe some form of an attempt to counter all of these Grenadiers from Lollypop, but they're fairly expensive. So right now, I think SturmTiger basically finds him without any form of AT. Is that correct?
Yes, you would be correct. He only has 18 nades. I'm sure he's going to throw one now, but all it'll do is keep him at bay.
Oh!
Whoa, was that both snipers
Both snipers!
in one shell?
Yeah, I think the normal P4 got two of them with one shot, and then the P4 command tank get the remaining two guys.
Oh, man. That's a
snipers
heck of a
down,
hammer
and that-
blow if I ever saw one.
Yeah. I think this means it's actually kind of game now, because I don't see that many units. I see SturmTigerOst trying to build a
units.
tier 2 building, but he's just so outgunned all of a sudden. The tables have turned, and all of a sudden Lollypop finds himself with the overwhelming numbers compared to his opponent.
Quite the comeback, considering that he kept on building grenadiers and just kept on losing them.
Yeah.
And actually, that is playback
Oh.
over. We have the drop from SturmTigerOst. I guess he didn't fancy going up against these tanks anymore. But
I don't think it could. There was actually a third P4 on the field now, if you count the command tank as a P4 as well, which it is just a snub-nosed one. So without any AT on the field against 3 tanks, yeah, that's pretty much game.
yeah, it sort of felt like he never really had any AT in the first place. When the P4 showed up, he was building T-34s, but they're not really a counter. P4s tend to actually counter T-34s quite well, not the other way around. So
They're
I think
both fairly similar. You know, they're not tank destroyers, either of them, so it's not reliable enough.
we've seen something of a trend recently of Axis armor really coming in to do a lot of damage in the late game, and always so the Soviet players seem very reluctant to want to build an AT gun.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because most people will go for the tier 1 building, which if you build a tier 1 or the tier 2 building, that unlocks the possibility of building tier 3 or tier 4. And it seems to me that Soviets are kind of, you know, still stuck in the whole need more T-34s, you know, meta, basically. But if they would go tier 4 to get the Su-85s instead of the tank destroyers, they mince P4s. There's just no way they're going to be able to combat the Su-85s unless there's overwhelming numbers and circle strafing going on. But, you know, then you get 18A that it gets too slow to circle strafe, and with proper micro, especially using the reverse function, the reverse ability on the vehicles now, it's much easier to just, you know, get out of the circle strafe.
Yes, so take heed, Soviet players. Do not forget that you do have more than just T-34s and shock troops and guards at your disposal. There are other units in the Soviet army, and it's highly recommended that you take advantage of them, especially if you want to have a chance at winning our $1,000 cash prize in our TFM World Championship tournament, which is in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So thanks guys for watching. Leave a comment, let us know your thoughts. Otherwise, share it on Twitter and Facebook, and we will see you next time.
See you guys.